dictated by performance?
Look, we've got a sort of a rough plan of what we want to do. Yeah, our aim is to get to the World Cup in the best position, and we've got 5 games to do it. Yeah, we're obviously a new team, new coaching staff, so we're just finding out where we're at. So we didn't have a number in place, but we were always going to make some changes.
And Hope's pretty minor by the sounds of it. Is it likely to keep him out of action?
Yeah, no, he should be running by Friday, mate. So it's only a small injury, but he's too valuable a player to risk for this test.
And was it an easy decision like for like with Wright, or what was the things you were weighing up there?
Yeah, well, we've got a couple of other options we're looking at in terms of that 7 position, but Fraser's trained really well. Impressed in the 3 weeks I've seen him, and I think he can do a fantastic job for us.
Yeah, you've got that sort of balancing act of looking ahead to the World Cup and what you want to do there, and maybe keeping a few things up your sleeve, but also appeasing people who just want to see the team win again. Where do those priorities sit this weekend? What are you looking for?
Well, I think every time you get to game time, it's about winning, but the process. There's a couple of processes we've got. We've got the process of today, we've got the process of tomorrow. So, that's a continually balancing act. But obviously, Saturday's a priority. We're playing against a team that's probably, in terms of where they are, similar in their development. Czech is a relatively new coach there. They're trying to find their style of play under Czech. So it'll be a good competitive match, mate.
You looking forward to going toe-to-toe again with Czech?
I was just thinking about it, and Marty reminded me how fantastic it is for a coach of Argentina or a coach of Australia to come out of the Shield, out of a fairly minor club, Randwick. I'm just saying that because Slips is here, so I don't want to come across too arrogant. But it's fantastic, isn't it? That you think in an international game you've got 2 coaches coming out of the local competition in Sydney, and it shows you the real value of club rugby. And Australia rugby's been based on club rugby, and the more we can do to engender strong club rugby, the better.
Can you see him moulding that Argentina team into a checker team, or is it horses for courses?
Well, I think every team he has is a checker team.
Similarities to the way that he coached Australia, for example?
Well, I'm sure he'll play differently. Like when we played him last year in Twickenham, they kicked the leather off the ball. I think they kicked it 40 times in the game. Basically didn't play anything over one phase. So that's not Checker rugby, is it? Czech, when he was with Australia and the boys, talk about it, he wanted to run the ball, and he said it all the time. He wanted to play Australian-style rugby. So, I think he's finding his feet with him and with the Argentinian team. And the team they've picked doesn't look like a team that's going to kick the ball 40 times this week, so it might be a bit different.
Speaking of strategy, what about your strategy last week? There was a fair bit of kicking as well. Is that the way you want to move forward, or is it again horses for courses?
I think, as I said, we want to play each game on its merit. We want to find a Wallaby way of playing, which is finding a way to win. And for each game, we'll try to work that out during the course of the game.
Hey, how difficult was that playing trip back home?
No, just normal, mate. Why?
It probably didn't quite go to plan, and it's.
Oh well, it's always hard, mate. Of course it is after a defeat, but it's part of international rugby. I don't find that peculiar at all.
6-2 split this weekend, and Jordan Walisi keeps his spot. What do you see in Jordan that you like?
Yeah, no, he's a good, strong, scrummaging hooker. He's a good defensive player. He's got the capacity to carry well. And obviously, there's a bit to his game he's got to improve, but we feel we can be, him and Pariki can give us a really good 80 minutes.
There's always an element of risk when you go 6-2.
There's an element of risk when you go 5-3 too.
Yeah, true.
So I don't understand the question.
Or Josh Kennedy, you floated him as a utility player. Yeah. If there was an injury in the back line, is he someone that you think could shift out, or how would those permutations work?
Yeah, no, quite possibly.
James, the scrum came under a fair bit of pressure last week. What have you identified this week as perhaps a couple of work-ons?
I think consistency is probably the biggest one. If you look back at the game, there were scrums there that we did really well. So it's about doing that each scrum, each moment. We compete for every moment in the game, and the set piece is such a big area of the game that you've got to get right. And it's going to be no different against the Argentinians. They've got a good scrum, good set piece. So we've just been working on being consistent, making sure each scrum's our best.
And Angus Bell raring to go after a fairly long layoff.
He's pretty excited, the big fella. So the way he's been trained, the way he's applied himself at training, it's been really impressive. So looks like he's put on a few kilos. He's ready to go. So I'm excited for him.
How significant the two giant locks behind you? Like, what can that do for a front row in terms of scrummaging strength? It's one of the biggest lock pairings, I imagine, in world rugby.
Stating the obvious, probably weight.
There's plenty of that.
Yeah, there's plenty of that. So I guess with any second rowers, you look for size, but also power and the intent to scrum. You got to want to scrum. You got to want to maul, and both of those second rowers bring that in spades.
Eddie going with Mark on the wing. What do you need to see from him to really trying to sort of solidify that back three with replacing Zuli?
Yeah, well, again, as I said, we're developing the team for the World Cup. Mark and Sully and Marika, and we've got Kellaway coming back. Geordie Pataya trained for the first time yesterday. So we've got good competition in those spots, and we want to build depth. It's not about guys solidifying positions. It's about, for us, building depth that we can take a team to the World Cup, and in every position we've got 3 players of the quality that we need to have. And we don't have that at the moment in all positions, so we're aiming to do that. And if you just look at our team on the weekend, if you go from the top, you've got Bell, Skelton, Arnold, Leota, Phillip. Have I missed anyone there? And then you go further down, Quaid, Karevi are all coming back either into international rugby or been out for long-term injuries. And they're both, and all of those players are not at their best at the moment. So, we've got a fair bit of growth in those players. But again, getting back to the first question, we want to fire up on Saturday. There's no excuse, but we're trying to create a squad that's capable of winning the World Cup and that wins on Saturday.
Momentum, it's possible that the Wallabies take on Argentina in a quarter-final. Is momentum a big one to get the wood over them now?
I've never seen momentum last for 4 months. Have you?
Yeah.
Tell me.
Well, we saw the Springboks get a fair bit of momentum when they went over and beat the All Blacks in 2018. It lasted for a couple of years.
What is it? Okay. Yeah.
Carter Gordon, Eddie, sorry. He obviously ticked all the boxes when he came on last weekend. And how tempted were you to sort of throw him in and start, or is he just a work in progress? You just feel that's the best way to use him at the moment?
Well, it's probably good discretion. What I don't want to do is throw him in. I want him to be ready to go. And he's a great young player, but he's a young kid at the moment. He's finding his feet. Would Quaid have played like that in the last 10 minutes when there was plenty of space and there was a bit of quick ball? So you've got to be careful of that. It's like a batsman coming in the second innings and there's no result on and he gets a quick 50 and they say, oh shit, he should be playing next test. So Quaid, again, is coming back from a serious Achilles injury, so we want to give him some time. And Carter's coming through beautifully. Couldn't be happier with him. He's 1 out, 1 back. We're just holding him back at the moment. Then we'll let him go when we get over the rise. We're not at the rise yet.
Randwick again for the younger ones. Very graceful.
There's some funny looks I got there.
James Angus Bell's return, that's exciting. How's he looking? Is he back to the sort of levels that you saw him at pre-injury?
I guess for Belly, he's trained really hard. He's looking good. He's really excited just to be out there training and being able to be in a position to play footy again. He's young. He wants to play rugby. So I think, he just has to go out there and do his job. He knows what that is. And he's going to be an impressive player, definitely.
Last week as well, Reece Hodge took the goal kicking. I imagine probably Quade this week. What was the rationale behind Hodgie last week?
Probably the distance. So depending on how far out we were going to take a shot from would determine the kicker. But it was pretty much just for that game.
James, how important these upcoming home games, I guess? You're about to go overseas, a lot of competition for eyeballs, Ashes, Wimbledon, Origins just finished. Is it important for you guys, I guess, to build a bit of support from Australia in the lead up to the World Cup?
Yes, definitely. We only get 2 games here on home soil this year, so both of them are going to be really important. We obviously have this weekend against Argentina, but we also have a big one against the All Blacks at the MCG. So there's not one player there that's in the squad at the moment that's played at the MCG. So that's really exciting for us as a playing group. But we understand the importance of putting in a good performance for the fans here as well. As Eddie said, we want to be building, but also getting results along the way.
And Slips, Argentina has always been a nearly side, a couple of draws in 2020, I think it was, one out at Parramatta. What are some of the fundamentals you've got to get right in that first 20 minutes?
Oh, you want to start fast. You want to dictate the first 20 and knowing Argentina and Czech, they'll be trying to do the same thing. So it's going to be a good battle up front. They're a team that will throw the ball around too. Like they've got plenty of offloads. They'll play quick. So it's about being prepared for that, but also just worrying about what we're going to do.
Do you expect them to kind of have that rock solid wall of defence like they've kind of become accustomed to the last couple of years?
Yeah, we're preparing for a hard Argentinian defence. One thing I know about Argentina, they're very passionate, and defence is an easy way to look at how passionate you are. So we're expecting a big battle there.